you can bet that a buyer looking at your house has probably seen it on Zillow, or they've looked it up somewhere and they can see all the different opinions that these different websites have.
This is Davey's Doghouse. If you're a home seller or soon to be one, we'll throw you a bone.
Oh boy.
Hey everybody, Dave Foster here, Fontaine Family, the real estate leader. And today, Davey's Doghouse is in Auburn once again on Center Street at the Fontaine Brokerage. And I'm here with Sierra Lemieux, who's one of our great agents here. And I asked Sierra to talk a little bit about how to price a home correctly in this market. What are the things that sellers think? What are the things that the buyers think? And what are the actual comps and things like that say about what's been going on in our market? So Sierra, tell us a little bit about yourself and,
Okay.
What do you do?
So I am a real estate broker here at Fontaine. I've been in real estate since 2017. And I work with buyers and sellers to help buy and sell property.
So what percentage of buyers and sellers do you work with?
About 50-50.
50-50.
Yep.
So you work with as many sellers as buyers. So you see
Yep.
both sides of it, which
Yes.
is great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's awesome about somebody who works with both buyers and sellers. You know what each one of them is looking for.
Yeah.
So when you are, we're talking to sellers specifically on this podcast. We want to make sure sellers understand how to get from, I think I might want to sell my house, to a closing table and be happy when they get there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk to sellers, how are you talking about pricing specifically? How do you work with them to find the right list price to go on the market at?
So the listing process is about 4 steps, and helping get a good picture of the property and looking at prices and coming up with something to get it ready for the market. Mm-hmm. So first we talk about the home, just a phone conversation, get a really good picture of what the home is like, the finishes, renovations, upgrades. And also talk about things that might not be so good on the property that are going to be important to know in marketing it and pricing. Mm-hmm. And next step is gathering all of the technical information, like tax records from the town, tax map, the deed, really looking at that and making sure we understand the property and anything that comes along with it. And making sure that information matches up with what we plan to advertise, mm-hmm. but also helping us find, matching that technical information with what we're looking at on the market to compare the house.
Okay, so you want to make sure that the aspects of the house you're going to list match up with those things
Yep.
in the marketplace that may have sold already or be on the market.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that then.
Age, square footage,
Yep.
bedrooms, bathrooms, all of that. Size of the land
Yep.
is all very, very important. Once we have a really good picture of the house and all the technical information, we take that to the MLS and start looking at what has sold recently, what's currently on the market, and houses that were on the market and are now pending. So we're looking at homes in the town that your home is in, maybe surrounding towns if there's not, if it's a more rural place. Going to the market, getting the most recent information we can, because the market changes so quickly. Mm-hmm. Month by month it feels like recently. And looking at, mainly what houses have been listed for, how long they were on the market at that price, and then what they've closed for. So that tells us what a buyer is willing to pay for a house similar to your house.
Okay. So those are the real stats. That's
Yeah.
the science behind this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what happens if I'm a seller and I think that my house is worth a lot more than what the stats say?
Yep.
What do I do?
So,
what do you do?
So obviously, that happens because we see the online estimates, or you did a kitchen renovation that is amazing and you just love it and it's probably really beautiful, but we still need to take all of that into consideration with what is actually happening on the market.
Got it. So even if you spent 20 grand on a kitchen,
yeah,
it may not be worth 20 grand to
More.
somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That is an issue, and that's one of the things I know that sometimes talking to sellers prior to them doing a lot of work is great. Sometimes getting an agent involved very early in the process,
Yeah.
because it can save you from spending 30 grand on a new deck, thinking
Yep.
you're going to get 50 grand back, but you don't get 30 grand back.
Yep.
Spending 10 to get 6, I think
Yep.
they call it, yeah.
Yep.
So talk about the online estimates. You mentioned that, you kind of
Yeah.
walked past that, but I know that like there's Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, there's all these different websites.
Yep.
And I know by looking at my own house, because that's what we all do, that they're all different.
Yeah.
So how does that affect your seller?
So, so everybody's on the internet, and you can bet that a buyer looking at your house has probably seen it on Zillow, or they've looked it up somewhere, and they can see all the different opinions that these different websites have of value for your property. What is good to know, and I tell buyers this too, when I'm working with them, is those numbers come from a very generic place. It's public record information, and of course recent sales, because Zillow and Realtor, they have all that too. But those numbers don't come from the extra step that we take when we're talking about all the things that you've done inside your home. Zillow and Realtor, they don't know that. And where Zillow and Realtor might not be as up to date on what's happening in the market, because those aren't agents showing homes to buyers and writing offers every day.
Right.
So that's the big difference.
Okay. So if you have a seller seeing 3 different prices, which one do you think they're going to be looking at the most?
The highest.
The highest one,
Yeah.
right? That's what I've found also. And then the buyers will be looking at
The lowest.
the lowest one, right? And so that's where kind of I find the struggle is with sometimes sellers trying to figure out what to list their home at.
Right.
Because somewhere in between there is probably the correct answer, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's really close, but
Yep.
that's kind of like,
But do you
if they
find
get
that then
lucky.
your comps, that when you do those comparables and you look at the active listings and the pending listings, those together help you to understand where, with all that information, where might be the right price, might be
Right.
the right range. Who's in charge of deciding what price to list at?
the seller.
The seller
always.
is. So,
Yep.
so it comes down to the seller deciding, right?
Yep.
If they have a price in mind and you
Yep.
really think it's too high, are you going to talk to them about price reductions?
Yeah.
Timing
so-
on that, all that
Yep.
stuff? Because this is a fairly quick market still, right?
Right. So I always say, in this market, if we're on the market for 2 weeks
Yep.
at the price that we have gone on at, and we don't have an offer, or somebody talking about writing an offer, or something coming up in the works, then we just know it's too high.
Yeah.
If you've had a lot of showings, I say this is what we go. If you've been on the market 2 weeks, you've had 30, 40 showings, and we don't have an offer, then we're about 4 to 6%,
Yeah.
probably price
Maybe a little bit more.
4
Yeah.
to 6%, a little more.
Too
Price
high.
too high. If we've been on the market for that time and we really didn't get a lot of activity at all, maybe a couple showings here and there, and still no offers, probably 10 to
12%.
10 to 12%.
Probably, at least.
And then no showings,
Yeah.
we know we've completely missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you had said earlier, and I don't know if you mentioned it or we were just chatting before we started to talk today, about the fact that in this market, many houses that are in good shape still go for over asking. So a lot of buyers will look at a number, a
Yeah.
listing number, and they'll add 10% to it, and it'll put them up over what they have available to use for mortgage money.
Yep.
And so they won't even go see your house.
Right,
That
yeah.
happens quite often.
Yeah.
So if your home's on the market for 300 and they think, oh, it's going to sell for 330, 340, they're out of there.
Yep.
They never even get a chance to see it, when in
Right.
fact they might have been able to purchase it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Huge
So
factor to
Yeah, it
take
is.
into
Yeah.
consideration.
anything else about pricing? So it sounds like you do this work and it seems to work for the sellers. They understand at that point then there's the range to go in.
Yeah.
Here's the positives and negatives of this price versus this.
Yeah.
And then they choose a price and go.
Yep.
Because you sold 34 houses last year.
Right.
Which is
37.
amazing. 37. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your bringing to light some of this stuff, and I hope that as you as home sellers understand, we're here to work with you guys. We don't pick your price, so our incentive isn't usually from that making money part of it as
Right.
much as it is to try to do the best for you.
Yep.
But that all starts from picking the right listing price, and we have tools and techniques to help you understand how to get to that price. So
Yep.
really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
And and all of you, don't forget, today is the day. Don't dog it.